All right, so today we're just going to talk a little bit more about some good writing practices as we're getting into actually writing your book or story, whichever you have chosen to do. All right, so I just have some tips and we're going to do some little quick writing practices. All right, so first tip for novice writers and really all writers. This is one of the most common pieces of writing advice I've ever heard. You hear it all the time. There's a good reason for it. Show, don't tell. So as you're writing, don't just say what's happening. Don't just say what's around them. Show it with your words, with your descriptions, with the actions of your characters. So for example, if you wanted to say like the night was cold and there was a full moon, you could just like say the night was cold and there was a full moon. Okay. Or if you wanted to like have a little bit more nicer writing, you could say the frosted window reflected the full moon's light. There's frosting on the window. We know it's cold. There's a full moon. We see the light glinting off of a window. It helps describe the setting a little bit more as well. We know that there's a window there. Write a descriptive practice using the concept of show, don't tell about a child at the beach. Okay, so just write a quick paragraph, like minimum of 3 sentences kind of thing about a child at the beach, whatever you want. But think about what the weather's like. Think about what activities they're doing. Are there other people there? And use kind of like this idea of like, okay, how can I describe what's going on, what it's like to be here at the beach without just saying, there's sand, there's water, he was playing ball. So that was just our first little advice. Show, don't tell, try to be more descriptive about what is happening in your story around your characters. Don't just say they walked this way and then they turned and then they went through the door, just helps you bring your story alive a little bit more. Okay, the second one is including sensory details. So you want to really ground your readers in the world that you're in, and a great way to do this is to give them sensory details. So talk about the sights that they're seeing, obviously, and then as well as sounds and smells, feeling, their touch, and taste. Taste probably comes in the least amount, but it's really easy to incorporate sight, right? What are they seeing? Especially if you're from first perspective, your character is literally like looking around. Okay. If you can incorporate some sounds, that's kind of like taking it to the next level. Smells, like even higher above that. So here's just kind of like a quick example. The hot summer air pulled her skin tight, sweat trickled on her brow, tickling almost as much as the scent of spices in her nose. So this is like, you could have said it's hot outside and it's, the air smells of spices. She's in like a spice market or something. Okay, it's a little bit more descriptive, but we have like feeling here, lots of feeling. Her skin feels tight because it's hot. There's sweat trickling on her brow, but then also some scent. You could say like what she's seeing next. Is she hearing anything? Is it like a bustling market? Is it loud? Or is she like going downstairs for dinner? Is it quiet? Okay, so next, just a little practice again. Couple of sentences. Write a descriptive paragraph using sensory details about a character celebrating your favorite holiday. So, what are some of the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and feelings that remind you of your favorite holiday? Just write a couple of sentences about like a descriptive thing happening to a character celebrating your favorite holiday. Okay, so next little piece of advice that you can start using is use actions to convey emotions. All right, so show your readers acting and reacting. Okay, this also kind of like fits into the show, don't tell. So for example, you could just say that they were nervous, or you could show it with their actions. Their nails tapped together as they fidgeted, waiting for news. So you're showing that they're fidgety. You're showing with their bodies, their actions, that they are nervous. You don't have to say it. Don't spell it out. So it gives us a little bit more like what's happening in the scene right now. They're fidgeting and they're moving. Okay, another thing is to use this during dialogue. So a lot of people, they think it's, I mean, you know, there's advice that say just say they said after every dialogue, but eventually that gets a little boring. A good thing you can do is add little like action tags. So you could say, any news, they ask nervously. Or you could describe what they're doing first. They only stopped pacing when Jeff entered the room. Any news? So we showed that they were pacing, and they just kept pacing. And so that kind of shows that they're nervous. And then Jeff, this person that they've been waiting for, enters the room, so they stop and they immediately ask, is there any news? Okay, so we get the vibe that they're nervous, but we're a little bit more centered in what's happening. So it just, again, helps kind of beef up your writing, make it a little less boring. All right, so the final practice I want you guys to do, write a descriptive paragraph again, just a couple of sentences, or if you just want to write some dialogue instead, that's fine. Just so like, this person said this, did this reply, whatever. Using action to show how your character is feeling about some news that they're waiting to hear. So think about, is it good news? Is it bad news? How will they react when they get the news? So just a couple of things. How are people acting? How can you show that they're nervous or like excited about this news, or like how are they acting and feeling about the news they're waiting to hear, rather than just saying they sat waiting for the news nervously, because that's kind of boring. Okay, so these are just some like little tidbits, tips, practices to just kind of think about as you're writing. You can always, you know, focus on this stuff as you're going back through and you're editing your work. So again, your first draft does not need to be perfect. If all you're trying to do is just get some words on a page, that's great. But if you're, you know, you want to kind of like work on your craft as you're writing, these are some great things to think about as you're going.